Hi, I'm Teresa Elling from The Peaceful Home. On this channel, we talk about everything having to do with home, from decor and organizing to parenting and even finances. Today, I'm going to show you an interview I did with a couple of my kids, my daughter and son-in-law, Rachel and Joshua, and they recently completed a journey of becoming debt-free. They still have their mortgage to pay off, and that's their next goal, but they got rid of all of their consumer and student loan debt. And this was quite a journey for them, and I was just so impressed. Actually, in the interview, I learned some things I didn't know, and I was even more impressed by. So if you think this information will be helpful to you, please stay tuned, like and subscribe, and let's take a look. Hey guys. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me today.
Of course.
I really think people will be interested in your journey because although paying off debt is getting a little more popular, not everyone can do it. And people also, I think, often think it's unrealistic when they look at their budget and they look at their debt and they just think this isn't possible. So tell me how you guys kind of got started on this journey when you guys decided you wanted to pay your debt off.
I think one of the first pieces is researching or having some kind of resource or accountability. So for us, we used Dave Ramsey's method. He has a lot of resources, a podcast, several books. So that was a starting point for us to do a lot of research. And then we had some accountability from friends and family as well. That was really key.
Yeah. Okay. And how much debt were you in when you started this process?
We were just around $32,000.
Okay. And in your budget, how much money did you have allotted, like extra, that you're like, okay, we can take this chunk and apply it towards our debt every month?
None.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we actually, we had never really done a budget in our marriage. And when I actually sat down to crunch the numbers, I was kind of wondering, how are we even paying our bills based off of what we make? It was working out somehow, but I couldn't figure out how it was happening and how we would possibly have extra money to put towards debt to kind of work towards more of that minimum payment, to pay anything extra beyond our minimum payment. I didn't see how that would happen.
Yeah, and I mean, we could have gotten extremely strict in the sense we could have done just rice and beans for every single meal, but we knew that just practically wouldn't be best for us given our lifestyle and even our occupation. It's like we have to do a little bit more meal prepping. Having a little bit more chicken, the fact that we work out and we're very intentional with our nutrition, we wanted to at least give ourselves like healthier intake of foods.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, you're just making your minimum payments, and what was even the next step? Because if there's no extra money to put towards your debt, what was the first thing you were going to do towards trying to get some more money, I guess?
Yeah. Once we realized that we didn't have enough on just the jobs we had at the time, there wasn't extra, we knew we would have to get more work or find another way to make money. So then we took the amount that we owed, the $32,000, and divided it amongst the months we were really willing to attack the debt, which for us, we decided that 1.5 years was a good time to dedicate to that. We knew we wanted to start a family at some point, and we didn't want to put it off for years and years and years and drag it out. So we divided the $32,000 amongst 18 months, and then that figure was the amount of money that we needed to come up with every month.
Okay, so this is interesting. Rather than saying, this is how much money we have, if we do it for this many months, the debt will be paid off by this point, you guys did the reverse, and you decided, we're going to do this in 18 months.
Yes.
So how much a month is that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty radical. And then you got an extra job? Or what did you do?
An extra job or 5?
Yeah.
5.
Yeah. We reached out to so many of our friends that had their own businesses of sorts, whether it be like house cleaning or dog sitting, and it's like, hey, whenever you have an extra job or a job that a client that you can't help at a certain time because you're committed or whatever to something else, pass it on to us, and we are going to say yes. And we just took the mentality of, for the next 18 months, we're going to say yes to every opportunity. And it's like, for me, I have a background with photography, and as much as I was trying to get away from that, it was like, well, no, I have an equipment that brings in fairly easy money. I'll say yes and even reach out to people like, hey, do you need some extra family photos? You haven't had some in 5-10 years. Let's do an hour photo shoot, make $200 off of that, you know, and just being very open and willing to say yes to anything that comes our way.
Yeah, it required sacrifice in terms of our time together. I just heard the ice machine.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
It required sacrifice in terms of our time together and our time with friends. I remember one time specifically that we had a house sitting job, a paid job, and then another one came up during the same time. So we split and we watched pets at different houses.
Wow.
And so we were apart for a couple of nights to earn extra money.
Yeah.
But with a shared goal, it was really fun.
Yeah.
And we knew it wasn't forever. So we just took on any opportunity we could.
Well, so would you say this has brought more unity in your marriage?
Yeah, to really set a goal and a dream together and commit to it fully, each of us, and to then work hard and sacrifice together. It's that experiencing that shared goal and that shared sacrifice together really helped us bond in a different way that we hadn't before.
Yeah.
Especially when we both have kind of different backgrounds with money and how money was used in families, to then just come together as our own family to reach that goal. I think it united us in a different way we hadn't been united before.
Okay. We would talk a lot too about the dreams we had of when we were debt free, and that really helped fuel the fire and kept us going, because we would think about when we have all this extra later, or when we have the freedom and we're not bogged down, we would think about all the minimum payments for all these different loans, and if we had all that money, what would we do with it? What trips could we take? How could we treat people? How could we, enjoy different kinds of date nights? So that was really exciting too, to think about house renovations and projects and things for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even sometimes we would fantasize a little bit, like if we were millionaires, like what would we actually do with the money? Not that we are now, but just it was a fun, just mental exercise of even more dreaming beyond finishing our debt and completing it. Just dreaming like, oh, what would be some frivolous spending you would do if you had extra money,
You can't actually spend any extra right now, but
Yeah.
When we do.
Oh, yeah, and it just, buying in each other's dreams, or even understanding what money is to each other, just brought a stronger bond together.
Yeah. Were there ever times when one of you was like, I'm done with this, I just want to go spend money, and the other one would kind of bring the other one back? Or do you guys feel like you stayed pretty focused?
I think we were focused.
Yeah.
I'd heard this before, that once you get into the process of paying off your debt, especially using the method of the debt snowball, where you take that minimum payment, once that loan is gone, you take that payment and you roll it into the next debt, and then the next and the next. It gets easier in a sense, because you have these little victories that have all built up. That was so motivating. We just kept going and ended up paying off our debt in less time than we had planned originally.
How long did it take you?
9 months.
9 months.
Half the time
Half the time.
Half the time. Yeah.
you planned on. $32,000.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that would even make you feel like we can do anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
I believe not at any one moment did we veer away from the drive to pay off the debt, but I can speak from my personal experience that there was a few moments where I was kind of not done, but drained. It's like, okay, when is the rest coming? Like the rest comes at the end of this and we're fighting on, but there are moments where it was like, I just need a vacation, but we can't afford it, and I know that. But there was that kind of reality check of like, oh, I understand why vacation is so healthy for so many people too. It's like when you work this hard, you need that little rest period, or we hadn't taken any trips to see any family, go anywhere, and so it's like having that like, okay, this is even more important to me now. It kind of highlighted the value of what rest and vacation is like, to just rejuvenate yourselves and reinvigorate your dreams and hopes and passions beyond this mountain or obstacle of debt.
Has this changed the way you budget or spend your money now?
Yes. We still budget, because now that we're out of debt, we're working on increasing our savings. We have our eyes on things around the house that we know are good. It's like something's gonna break, something's gonna happen. we have that rainy day fund that we're building up for, because the rainy day will come, and we know that now. One of the things that really set us on this journey was when our air conditioner went out in the middle of July and it was 100 degrees, and we just felt like debt was our only option. And now we know that debt is not an option, and so we're planning for when things happen, which they will because it's life, we're prepared for that. So we're still budgeting to be able to build up our savings, and then through Dave Ramsey's program, we'll just continue along the steps to building wealth now. So saving for retirement and paying off our mortgage early would be another goal that we'll work on.
Right. So give me a rundown of the jobs you guys did.
Yeah. We kept our full-time jobs at our existing jobs, and then took on babysitting and a reoccurring nanny job, actually watching some children. We did a lot of house sitting and pet sitting, paid jobs, house cleaning, and selling things on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, anything that we weren't using.
Okay.
Even buying things and reselling for a higher price when you would find something unique that you know would get top dollar on Facebook Marketplace, resell stuff. That was one of them. We also started accounting for Joshua's tips, because he works in food service, where before we would just take, those couple dollars here and there, and it would be like our coffee money or, buy dessert, and we never accounted for that as part of our income. And since we started accounting for that, it would, a little bit here and there added up to be, maybe $100 each month, which over the course of 9 months, that's a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And as I had said, I kept my ear out for photography jobs, despite my initial desire of wanting to pull away from that. But I just was open to that. It's like, I have had experience with this. Why not use it, for the sake of our family?
Yeah,
it's
for
like
this season.
Yeah, it's like I can be, what is it? I can compromise on that idea of like, even though it's not necessarily what I want to do, it's not my passion to do it for money, I know it's still helpful, and it's another job to do.
It was helpful.
Yeah, very helpful.
Yeah.
So amazing.
And then we had to make adjustments in our budget as well. We had reduced any subscriptions that weren't necessary, cut items in the budget. We were on a strict budget now for groceries, on a budget for clothing or toiletries, a set amount. And so if it wasn't in the budget for that month, then it had to wait for the next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know for you guys, your date night is very important to you.
Yes.
How did you do date night?
We just had to get really creative. Like we could have been as strict as we wanted to, and just like never eating out ever until debt is paid off. But just since even the beginning of our dating life, it was important to me that there's always at least a very specific designated date night where you just do something different that you normally wouldn't do. And we're both foodies, so I kind of urge, like, can we at least budget for a date night out? And it doesn't necessarily have to be just a restaurant. It could be a restaurant and a walk-in, a park that we've never been to. But just even getting creative, like one night we grabbed our camping lanterns, put them in our car, and we read in the back of the car in our garage, and it was like we're camping, just like getting super creative of what it could look like, going on a lot more walks and substituting that as like a date night. We had invested in some mitts and a ball and to throw the ball around, and eventually got a frisbee and taught Rachel how to throw a frisbee. And just getting really creative. I mean, even asking our friends to borrow their dogs to take them on dog walks, and watch them for a little bit, like, because we have always wanted a dog, or thought we wanted a dog. And so just getting creative, thinking outside the box of what it could be like. And date night doesn't need to be extravagant, but I like the idea of it being extravagant once in a while. So having that designated date night once a month to go out and enjoy ourselves, like it's a little like, hey, we're treating ourselves, we're doing a good job, but this is also important to me to connect to you. We connect over food because we love to eat. So.
That's awesome. When I talked to you guys before, one of the reasons I wanted to interview you is because it was really shocking to me that you didn't have this extra money. Like, oh, we're spending this frivolously, but now maybe we should apply it to our debt. You're like, we don't even know where to start, but we're going to do this. Do you feel like your commitment to that, in that the Lord blessed it? and then begin to kind of add to your own commitment?
Yeah, I don't think there's any other explanation, because there were months where our income had doubled or tripled through odd jobs.
Wow.
And opportunities just kept coming, and there would be times where I'd be doing the budget for the month that was upcoming, and I would look and think, how are we gonna make what we made this month? We don't have any house sitting jobs lined up. I know that the house cleaning job, they don't have anything right now. There's not going to be anything extra. I don't know how we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then calls and texts and inquiries would just start coming in. It seemed like every couple of days there would be some opportunity. And with the commitment to saying yes to every opportunity for that 18 months or however long it took to pay off debt, God provided. I don't know any other way to explain how money kept coming in. We worked really hard for it, but the opportunities did not exist before until we opened ourselves up to it, and prayed for opportunities, and then we're committed to saying yes to them.
Yeah. And even though there's days I can recall were very tiring or exhausting, in hindsight, it never felt like our life changed that much, truly. Like there's so much peace with it that it can only be given by God's grace. That yeah, sure, there's some long days, but it didn't feel too bad, too different. Like it didn't feel like much truly changed in the sense of how hard we were working, and yet our income doubled some months. So it's like the peace behind it all was even just as good as the work.
Yeah.
And what would you guys say to someone that is in the position you were in? They've got some debt and there doesn't really seem to be a way out. What would you say to someone like that?
Where there's a will, there's a way. I firmly believe that, because we didn't have a way initially, but we had the will, and the way came. I would recommend Dave Ramsey's program. He has a lot of free resources, just tons of information and a lot of helpful encouragement. Definitely getting on a written budget, and being on the same page, but willing to compromise for one another. For example, the date night, that might have been something I was willing to sacrifice more on, but it was really important to Joshua, so we compromised and made room in the budget for that, and I'm really glad that we did.
I would say you have to humble yourself in some regards of just what you're willing to do and not do, and certainly there could be some things that are just a hard no. I can understand that, but there's some things where, is it just a preference? Is it just like, no, I don't want to do it? It's like, maybe you need to just say, I can do that, and it's going to bring some money. And it's like, give it a try at least. Maybe it might not be as bad as you put it in your mind to be.
That reminds me of something, Josh. Were you guys ever stuck with like friends wanting to do things, and you're like, actually, that's not in our budget right now? Did you ever have to say no to opportunities?
I think there might have been one time, or two.
A lot of our friends were really understanding, and we had to adjust some things where maybe going over to a friend's house, we would normally go and buy chips and salsa and beer and bring all this stuff over, and then maybe we're bringing sparkling water from home that we already had. But they didn't know the difference, and maybe we brought our yard games, and that was our contribution, and no one even noticed. So we still would go and enjoy the activities, but just get creative and bring things from home, or bring leftovers from home, cut up a watermelon that we already had, and that was what we brought as our contribution to a barbecue at friends' houses.
And it already helped too that in our probably more focused friend group that we have, one of the couples had already completed Dave Ramsey's and had already paid off their debt, and so even being around them, they totally understood and were super supportive. And even other people that necessarily hadn't been doing it were supportive too, because they understand the power of being debt free. Seeing it in our other friends already, so even having that support group more or less, or being even surrounded by people, it's easy to even make those sacrifices because of the surroundings we've placed ourselves in.
We've been really happy to share about our journey from the beginning, even when we were in the middle of it, and just really honored to have the opportunity to be working hard. There's a lot of joy in having that kind of work ethic together and working towards a common goal. So if we had to say no to something, we were just really honest about we're paying off our debt right now and we're not doing anything extra. And that usually provoked more conversation, and we could share, we paid off this much so far, or this is what we're doing. And people were really excited about it. So we again just kind of chose to humble ourselves and be excited to share about our journey with other people. And we prayed that it would be an encouragement to others, and that we would be able to be really honest with our journey through paying off debt, through being in debt, and then now being debt free, and the opportunities that we have with all the freedom, the financial freedom.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, your dad and I are so proud of both of you. Just, you guys have done such an amazing job. And I know this is going to be encouraging for other people. And I also love the way this has actually changed the way you're budgeting and saving for the future, so that you don't, fall into some of, I know some of it was like student loan debt and things that are like once in a lifetime things that are now done, but it just seems to have changed the whole way that you guys approach money together. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
I really hope that this interview was inspiring for you and even motivating to help you on your own journey of getting out of debt. I will link below, it's just the little down arrow to the description, Dave Ramsey's course, Financial Peace University, and his book, Total Money Makeover. These things helped Kevin and I so much. It transformed our view of finances with a really practical way, not just theory, but steps to get through to becoming financially free and building wealth. And so I hope those resources will be helpful for you. It's a great start just to get you going. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Peaceful Home.